For decades, we have been taught a simple story about success, adulthood, and money. It's a story repeated by parents, grandparents, and smiling real estate agents. The story says owning a home means you've made it. According to this story, renting is wasting money every single month. You're told you're paying someone else's mortgage instead of your own. Buying a house is presented as the smartest financial move possible. Over time, this belief becomes part of your identity. Still, renting at 30 feels like a personal failure, as if adulthood has passed you by. That pressure pushes people to buy homes they can barely afford. They stretch their finances to the limit just to own something. The deed feels like proof of success. But the uncomfortable truth is that this script is outdated. The economy has changed and the math no longer works the same way. Blind faith in homeownership is quietly destroying wealth. For many people, a house is not an asset. It is a liability disguised as an investment, a massive consumption purchase fueled by debt. Ownership feels powerful, but power is not the same as wealth. Wealth comes from assets that generate income. Most homes do the opposite. When you buy a home, you don't just pay a mortgage. You pay interest, taxes, insurance, and constant maintenance. Most of that money never comes back. In the early years of a mortgage, most payments go to interest. You may pay thousands each month and barely touch the principal. That money is gone forever. Property taxes are another permanent expense. They rise over time and never disappear. You are essentially renting from the government. Property taxes are another permanent expense. They rise over time and never disappear. You are essentially renting from the government. Homeowners insurance adds another mandatory layer of cost. Premiums rise with climate risk and market instability. You pay more every year just to stay protected. Buying and selling a home is extremely expensive. Agent fees, closing costs, and taxes can erase years of progress. One transaction can destroy your returns. When you add interest, taxes, insurance, maintenance, and fees together, the picture changes. These are unrecoverable costs, just like rent. The only difference is who you pay. Instead of one landlord, you now have several. The bank, the government, and the repair industry all take their cut. Ownership doesn't eliminate rent. It fragments it. The key metric that clarifies everything is the price-to-rent ratio. It compares the cost of buying to the cost of renting the same home. This ratio quietly tells you what the smarter choice is. You calculate it by dividing the home price by annual rent. A lower ratio favors buying, while a higher ratio favors renting. This is housing math stripped of emotion. In many major cities, this ratio is dangerously high. Prices have surged far faster than rents. The math no longer supports buying. When the ratio is extreme, renting becomes a financial advantage. You live in an expensive asset without paying its full cost. The owner absorbs the risk while you keep flexibility. This leads to the overlooked power of opportunity cost. Every dollar locked into a home cannot be invested elsewhere. This silent cost compounds over decades. Your down payment is trapped cash that cannot generate immediate returns. It sits in your house while the stock market, bonds, or a business could be working for you. Every year you leave it there, you forego potential compounding growth. Historically, real estate barely outpaces inflation over decades. Those massive gains you hear about often come from rare bubbles or leveraged luck. For most people, housing does not create real wealth. Renting and investing the difference can outperform owning a home. A disciplined renter can take the down payment and monthly savings and grow a liquid portfolio. Over time, this strategy often leads to higher net worth and financial freedom. Home ownership reduces mobility. If a better job appears in another city, selling a house is slow and expensive. Renters can move quickly and take opportunities others miss. Transaction costs for selling a home can destroy years of equity in a day. Agent fees, staging, inspections, and taxes add up quickly. A single market downturn can erase decades of savings. Renting preserves optionality and flexibility. You can pivot careers, cities, or lifestyles without massive financial friction. This freedom is a valuable asset often ignored. A common objection is that rent rises while a mortgage is fixed. Yes, a fixed-rate mortgage is a hedge against inflation, but taxes, insurance, and maintenance costs rise too, offsetting some of that protection. The stock market historically grows 7–10 per year. Investing rent savings into diversified assets often outpaces modest rent increases. Your money works for you instead of being locked into walls. Homeownership is emotionally and mentally taxing. Unexpected repairs, maintenance, and renovations consume weekends and energy. Time spent fixing a house is time you cannot use to earn, learn, or relax. Renting outsources that stress to someone else. You pay for shelter, but not the headaches. This time freedom can increase productivity and income potential. Many people buy a house for pride, not financial sense. They equate ownership with adulthood, stability, and status. But pride doesn't pay bills or generate wealth. Stability is often an illusion when tied to a house. Unexpected market crashes or local economic decline can erode equity. What feels secure can become a trap overnight. Buying makes sense only in very specific conditions. You plan to stay 10+ years, can handle unexpected costs, and the price-to-rent ratio favors purchase. Otherwise, the financial and emotional costs outweigh the benefits. A house is a consumption choice, not a guaranteed investment. It provides shelter and comfort, but not guaranteed returns. Treating it as an investment can create a concentrated, risky portfolio. Owning a home requires constant financial attention. Unexpected repairs, taxes, and interest payments create ongoing pressure. You are perpetually exposed to hidden costs and market fluctuations. Renting allows you to focus on income-producing assets. You can invest the difference between rent and ownership costs in stocks, bonds, or businesses. Over time, this strategy compounds wealth much faster. Liquidity is one of the most undervalued financial assets. Money tied up in a home cannot be used quickly for opportunities or emergencies. Renters maintain flexibility and optionality that homeowners often lose. Buying a home is a bet on one specific market. You are speculating that your neighborhood will appreciate more than the stock market. History shows this bet rarely outperforms diversified investments. The S&P 500 historically returns around 10% per year. Investing in a diversified portfolio can double your money roughly every 7 years. By locking funds in a house, you forfeit this compounding power. Homeownership is marketed as freedom, but it's often the opposite. You're tied to location, maintenance responsibilities, and financial obligations. Renting can actually provide more real freedom in the modern world. Many buyers ignore the unrecoverable costs of homeownership. Interest, taxes, insurance, maintenance, and transaction fees quietly drain wealth. These costs are often as high as or higher than renting. Children's rooms, fancy kitchens, and upgrades feel like investments. In reality, most renovations never fully pay for themselves. The house becomes a liability dressed as luxury. Emotional attachment clouds financial decisions. You convince yourself that homeownership equals security and pride. But emotion rarely lines up with math. A mortgage is often described as forced savings. In truth, most of your early payments go to the bank, not equity. It's renting from yourself under a false pretense. Taxes alone can equal a monthly rent in some states. Property tax escalates every year with little warning. You're paying perpetually for the privilege of ownership. Maintenance costs average 1–2 of home value annually. Roofs, plumbing, and appliances always need attention. These are invisible expenses that silently accumulate over decades. Insurance premiums are rising due to climate risks and natural disasters. Homeowners face increasing costs every year without control. Renters are shielded from most of these fluctuations. Selling a home comes with massive fees. Agent commissions, closing costs, and taxes can consume a decade of equity. The exit is rarely simple or cheap. The price-to-rent ratio is the single most important metric. It compares buying costs to annual rent for a similar home. A high ratio suggests renting is financially smarter. Major cities often have extreme price-to-rent ratios. Toronto, New York, and San Francisco reach 25–30 or higher. Buying in these markets is rarely justified by the numbers. Renters enjoy living in expensive assets without full exposure. They pay less while the owner takes all the risk. It's a financially leveraged lifestyle without debt. Opportunity cost is invisible but powerful. Every dollar tied up in a house could be invested elsewhere. Ignoring this cost can slow wealth accumulation for decades. Renting keeps capital liquid and flexible. You can quickly seize investment, career, or relocation opportunities. Freedom is a valuable asset often overlooked. Homeownership can trap people in one location for years. Selling a house is slow, expensive, and stressful. Renters maintain mobility and opportunity. Down payments are dead money locked into a wall. They cannot be used for emergencies, investments, or cash flow. Investing that capital elsewhere could multiply wealth. Buying a home is a concentrated bet on a single market. If the local market crashes, your wealth collapses. Diversified investments reduce this risk. Homeownership creates a hidden lifestyle cost. Time, stress, and mental energy are constantly spent on upkeep. Renters reclaim this time for productivity, learning, or leisure. Many people equate buying with adulthood and status. This social pressure can lead to financial mistakes. Following cultural scripts without analysis is risky. The American dream often hides real costs. Buying a home is not a guaranteed path to wealth. Understanding the numbers is essential. Renters can invest monthly savings to build a liquid empire. The combination of liquidity and compounding returns accelerates wealth. Freedom, flexibility, and time become assets themselves. Homeownership often comes with hidden stress. Unexpected breakdowns and repairs disrupt life and drain energy. Time and mental space spent on a house is an opportunity cost. Renting outsources responsibility for maintenance. You pay for shelter, but the headaches belong to someone else. This creates freedom to pursue other priorities. Market timing in real estate is unpredictable. Even careful buyers face risks of depreciation or stagnation. Renting removes most exposure to market volatility. The psychological weight of debt is invisible. A mortgage can feel like a permanent anchor on your lifestyle. Renters avoid this burden entirely. Homeownership may tie you to one neighborhood for a decade. Changing jobs or cities becomes costly and stressful. Renters maintain freedom to relocate easily. Cultural pressure exaggerates the value of homeownership. You may feel inadequate if you do not own a home, but social scripts are often at odds with financial reality. Owning a home is often marketed as mandatory for wealth. In reality, it is one of many consumption choices. Stocks, bonds, and businesses generate real returns. A house is a place to live, not a guaranteed retirement plan. Putting all wealth into a home concentrates risk. Diversified, income-producing assets are safer and more profitable. Do not let cultural scripts pressure you into a poor investment. Run the numbers, consider unrecoverable costs, and check the price-to-rent ratio. If renting is smarter, do it confidently and invest the difference. Owning income-producing assets, not a deed, creates wealth. Rent strategically, invest wisely, and build financial freedom. Let the landlord worry about the roof while you grow your liquid empire.